When you were in prison?
He came twice, not once, but twice. The first time he come to tell me that the Father had sent him because I was an unbeliever. And the only way to the Father was through him, Jesus Christ. The second time Jesus comes, about a month and a half later, he come back to tell me that the Father had sent him to tell me to get my life in order. So I'd been reading the Bible, and Matthew 24, I believe. And it's about the earth giving birth pains and earthquakes and everything, and it was more about the end of times.
Are we in the end of times?
Not yet. We've got a lot to go through yet, but it's coming.
Anything you want to say uncensored?
Uncensored? Not really. I think I said it all yesterday. So.
Do you still respect the CIA?
Not anymore. They got too many woke people in, too many liberals, and it's not the same CIA that I used to serve. The one that I served, I could be proud of. But the ones today, I am not proud of.
Do you respect the FBI?
Not at all. I've only got one person in the FBI I like. That's Zachariah Sheldon. He was a good man, worked for the FBI, but he busted my hijacking ring out of Chicago, where I went across the country, hijacking tractors and trailers, bringing them back to Chicago. When I went to trial on the hijackings in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Zach, his testimony helped me more than it hurt me. He never hurt me, he never lied, he never planted evidence. Zach Sheldon was a very honest man, and he believed in it. Him and me got to be very good friends, and we've had many dinners since that time since I've been out.
Did Lee Harvey Oswald kill Kennedy?
Lee Oswald never fired a shot that day, and I've got the paraben test in the back of the book, Primary Target. It shows he did not fire a weapon. He had no residue on his cheek, not on his hands or wrist, so he never fired.
Did anyone help you kill Kennedy?
Charles Nicoletti. He was out of Chicago, the same crime family I was with, and very honorable man, very good man. I got nothing bad to say about him. To me, I worshiped him. He was crazy. He was good. He was my boss on the street. And then we answered to Sam Giancana, who was number 2 in the outfit. He had to answer to Tony Accardo, which was number 1 in the outfit. Tony Accardo was number 1 until he died, and I believe it was 92. And I had asked for a release from prison to go to his funeral. They wouldn't let me out of prison though. I was in Stateville prison for 23 years. My last 2 years I did Danville. But,
Is George Bush a good man? George Bush Sr.?
to me, he was a good man. To the guys in the field, the operative, he was a good man. About a president, I got nothing to say. I don't know whether he was good or bad. But we needed something in the field, no matter where we was, if it could be brought in by plane. We had it within 48 hours. That was his promise to us, and he kept his promise all the way through.
Last question, are you worried about the future of the United States of America?
Yeah, it's headed downhill like a snowball rolling to hell. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, it's going to be, we're in a bad way. They need to do something. And we need to get Trump back in. He's at least got enough, well, he'll stand up to the opposition and take care of business. He proved that when he was in the last time.
James.
Yeah.
How you doing? James also.
Pardon me?
James also, there's a question for you. Did you ever think you'd live to see 80-something years old?
No.
I wouldn't have given
Life
a nickel.
expands in my trade was age 34. Supposed to be dead.
Thank you so much
I
for telling
delivered
the
that
truth.
way beyond 34.
Thank you very much for telling the truth.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Was there a team working with you on that day? Was there
What now?
Was there a team of other people, shooters working that day?
Not that I know of. If they was, they were the worst shooters in the world. They hit the tree, the sign, the sidewalk, the light pole, and the curb. They couldn't even hit a limo. How was he expected to hit JFK?
Yeah. May I say thank you for being here today, and I really appreciate your talk. Thank you so much.
Jimmy, I see you wear lots of MAGA stuff, and there were some letters. Have you been in correspondence with Trump? Does he know about you and your story?
We've got one, he knows about me in the story, yeah. He's known about me for a long time. He sent my wife and me a letter.
He sent you a letter?
Yeah.
Anything related to the records release or anything? He went,
No, but he, the judge had called him and asked him to release 8 criminals. He released all 8. When he called the judge up, The judge told him, fine, said, you did what you said you would do here, but you broke your word on the Kennedy assassination, the Kennedy papers. He said, you broke your word, you only released part of them. And he told the judge, in Kennedy's words, he said, Judge, he said, if you would have read what I read and seen what I seen, you'd break your word too.
Told Judge Knapp that.
Yeah.
Is this about the spot you were in?
I was just
You want
about
to go
2
to
feet
it?
down, I think.
You want to go to your best recollection?
Right here. Right here, get over here and look, yeah. I laid the tilted barrel on the 42, scanned the crowd with the scope. I was looking for bulges, for people that might be carrying weapons that could be a threat. And there was no badge man. Had there been a badge man with a rifle there, he would have been the second one to die right after Kennedy, within, I would say, 4 seconds. Basically here, and I searched, it looked like old home week. A lot of the Cubans were here, Frank Sturgis was here, George Bush was here, everybody was here. So everybody wanted to see it happen, I guess. It was no secret that Kennedy was going to get it.
James, some of us didn't hear. Why did you kill Kennedy?
Why? My orders, I was sent here.
By who?
I was sent here by the Chicago outfit. And you don't say no to them when they offer you a job. You do the job, or you're going to be trunk music and you wind up in the trunk. And I carried a lot of people away in the trunk to the cornfield and buried them there. I had a backhoe digger there.
Is this fence being moved back?
Pardon me?
Is this fence being moved back?
It's been moved up here twice since '63.
But,
Just recently moved up to this spot here.
but based on the picture that I see, like where it's shot, there's one tree basically. All these other ones moved in front.
Right.
And that would be that tree over there, wouldn't it?
Well, there's a ledge, I think it's still there, that you can see where they've got the thing holding the soil up.
Yeah.
You know, you can look down there and see where the fence used to be.
Okay, so fence has been
Yeah.
moved.
And then since last year, the fence has been moved up here to this spot.
But you were about 8 feet from the
Yeah.
corner of the original fence.
8 to 10 feet, yeah.
Yeah. Is that based on the form and feature, that tree would have been about 8 feet from the corner
Yeah.
of the fence that, you know, like from the pictures that are available from that time. And so,
Well, let's put it this way. If there would have been someone there with a rifle in front of me, not knowing who they were, with everybody seeing them and me back here, believe me, I would have had no trouble dropping the hammer from the 45 on him. I used a 221 on JFK. On the way out, I had the 45 in my right pocket, or under my belt, and then I had a grenade in my left pocket, the briefcase in my right hand. So I had no intentions of stopping, no intentions of giving up, not after you shot the president.
I'm not saying there was another person 8 feet down, like in front of you. I'm saying that the distance has changed somewhat because the fence location has changed. That big tree is the tree
Yeah.
that was about 8 feet in.
I know. The first time I come back here was in 2016. That's when they released me from prison, May of 2016.
Where did you go
I
after
served
you
25 years in prison.
Where did you go after you shot?
I walked from here, right around that corner. That's where police ran on one side, both sides of me. I looked like a businessman, my hat on, my coat reversed to the outside showing, and they thought nothing about it. They ran by me looking for someone over here. They ran into the road.
Do you know if there were any shooters other than you and Nicoletti?
No, there was none.
How do you account for so many bullets?
I would say it's a false flag planted because the people that they hired, if there was others, had shot the sign, the curb, the street, the grass, and everything else. But they couldn't hit the limo. The limo was not bulletproof.
But you only fired one shot.
I fired
How
one
many-
shot. Nicoletti fired at least 3 or 4 shots from the other side. 4, I believe.
Were you the insurance policy?
Pardon me?
Were you the insurance policy that if Nicoletti didn't kill JFK, that you were the last
Yeah.
one?
I had the ledger buried in Lake County, Wisconsin.
How many
Which county?
bullets did you get from Nicoletti?
Pardon me?
Which county?
Lake County.
Oh,
How many bullets did you pick up from Nicoletti? You said that when you got back.
The shell casings was 4.
You 4?
Yeah.
So he got 4 rounds.
We always saved the grass, and he didn't get 4 shots off within 5 or 6 seconds. It took longer than that because I was counting and waiting. And the second is a lot longer than anyone would believe. And if you want to see how long a second it lasts, watch NASCAR when they pull into pit crews and you see the clock running. You'd be amazed at how long a second is. That second cost you your life. Even a half
I've been
a second.
wanting to ask you that question for a long time. How many bullets your shell casings?
I got 4 shell casings handed to me by Johnny Roselli. Johnny Roselli with Chuck. Chuck was supposed to use Johnny for backup, but but General Lansdale was here that morning. He was grounds coordinator.
Was Roselli supposed to be here?
No, Roselli was. I don't know where Roselli would have been. I was supposed to be the driver and weapons bearer only, and the last minute it got changed, and I wound up being a shooter because I'd worked previous jobs for General Lansdale, and the fireball on JFK was the 3rd time. I had used it on two other high-rated politicians in different countries, which I don't care to name.
Can you tell me where Charles Nicoletti was?
Pardon me?
Can you tell me where Charles Nicoletti was firing from?
The Daltech building.
The Daltech?
Charles Nicoletti went to the Daltech building, the 2nd floor. That room was reserved 2 weeks in advance by Eugene Hell Brady because he had people in that building. Eugene Hell Brady had blonde hair. They couldn't modify the room, they said. They took the people out of that office, all the furniture out. They put in drop-cloth scaffolding for painting and everything. And the day of the assassination, he had the key to the room. He locked Chuck Nicoletti and Johnny Roselli in that room. He walked over to the wall where the phone was at and stood by the phone like he was making a phone call. When all the shots stopped being fired, he walked over, unlocked the door, let them out. The reason the door was locked, they didn't want nobody walking out. And so he got them out, went back to the phone, cleaned up a little bit around the area, made sure the door was locked, all that. And as he's leaving the building, Eugene Hell Brady was stopped for questioning, but he was not arrested. Thank you.
Where did you go after here?
Pardon me?
Where was your exit point after here?
Where's my exit point?
Yeah, once you did the shoot.
I went around here, went right in front of the depository, school book depository, and I parked at the Chevrolet. It was a 1963 Burgundy Chevrolet, and Johnny Roselli was in the back seat. Chuck was in the right front passenger seat, and I got in. I had a sign laying up on the dash that said "official business," so the cops wouldn't bother the car while it was parked.
James, you had indicated that you knew more about David Ferry and how he died.
Were
you in New Orleans that day?
Yeah, I was there. And I told him in that first confession on how he died and where the aneurysm was at and everything. And I was at Stateville Prison when Jim Garrison or one of his people called there. And the warden had me brought up from my cell. I was in his office, and they told me they wanted to talk to me about David Ferry, and they had a jet fuel and ready to go. I told him, save your fuel. I'm not talking about David Ferry.
So, are you willing to say that you were at his apartment that night?
I'm not going to say anything that would incriminate myself.
Oh, okay, I understand that.
Jimmy, what kind of emotions do you have being here today? 60 years to the day.
I've got no emotions at all. I've never had emotions. I couldn't even cry at my own mother's funeral. And she was the one that surrogate mother to me, I guess they call it, or whatever. She carried me for 9 months. I was created from a test tube.
James, can I get a photo?
Pardon me?
Can I get a photo with you here? Can I get a photo with you?
Who was with me?
No, can I get a photo with you?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah.
Just the camera there.
Yeah. You're ready to have
Thank you. Thank you.
James, how do you account for a
If it wasn't
frontal
Oswald
shot
on the
to
6th
the
floor,
neck?
who was on the 6th floor?
I got two people.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It says it came from the back.
If it wasn't Oswald on the 6th floor, who did you know who was on the 6th floor building?
I have no idea who was on the 6th floor. Nobody that I know of. Alleged that Mike Wallace is the one that shot me, I guess. far as for me knowing and actually being a part of that plan, I have no knowledge of that.
Thank you very much, sir.
I know they wanted to get rid of one of the other parties in the car, but he wasn't my target, so I took my target and then I left.
So you do believe there was another shooter here?
No, I don't
other
believe it,
than
but I'm
you?
saying that has been the theory from other people.
Okay.
That's not my theory, because I've always said nobody was on the 6th floor.
Okay.
And the shells that they found that was planted there, Unfar was laying it lined up side by side, even space between them. If you eject a weapon 1 million times, 2 million times, they're not going to line up that way. I don't care how you do it.
So you're saying Oswald never shot anyone?
Oswald
that day?
never fired a shot. I have a paraffin test in the back of my book, Primary Target. It plainly states where he had no nitrate from the gun residue, up on his cheek powder, on his wrist, or anything. The only place he had the gunpowder was from the brass that he picked up from me. It was in the palm of his hand when I was calibrating the scopes out of Mesquite, Texas. And in Mesquite, Texas, I stayed in the lamplighter inn. And that was available back then in 1963.
James, why did you decide to reveal that you're the shooter?
Well, there's not much they can do to me. I ain't got much longer to go anyway. At the end of the road of life. And so, that's about all I can say about that. I had this talk with Jesus in my cell at Stateville. He come to see me twice. And wasn't no dream. I know it was real. And at the end of it, I felt it was time to speak out. I got out of prison in 2016. From here now. I've never been afraid of dying anyway, so I've got no fear of that.
How much did you get paid for it?
I did did a contract in Chicago just before I left in Kennedy, and I got back to Chicago 2 weeks later. I got $30,000 cash in my pocket. I know it don't sound like much money today, but just imagine what $30,000 would be worth today.
Do you happen to know?
Back then, you could still buy a cup of coffee for a dime.
Do you happen to know the 4 tramps that were picked up? Were they involved in any way?
The tramps that were picked up was 3 tramps picked up, not 4.
Oh,
The one walking by with his back to the camera was General Lansdale.
yeah, I saw that picture. Yeah.
Charles Rogers was there. I don't know if people here know about Charles Rogers or not. He killed his mother and his father right after the assassination, and he cut them up in pieces and put them in the freezer. And then he left the country and wasn't seen again. I don't know if they ever caught up with him or not. The other one, the one behind the little guy, was Chauncey Hull. And also I know him. He was a friend of mine. And he ran the floating press. He worked for the CIA, and he also worked for organized crime. And Chauncey Hull was the one that assassinated, took out Bugsy Siegel. If anybody remembers who Bugsy Siegel was.
Thank you very
Who
much.
was the bigger, younger tramp? They've claimed it was Woody Harrelson's
His father.
dad.
That I don't know.
Okay.
I wasn't here to see the tramp. I know quicker that's true from the pictures. But the one, I don't know.
How did you get out of Dallas?
I drove out of Dallas. I left here, I went to the Dow Tech building, got in the 1963 Burgundy Chevrolet Super Sport, 327 in it. Fixed up gun panels in the door of the car. Back seat, we had a gun rack in it. The top of the back seat would pull out. We could get to the guns, weapons. Had departments for grenades. It was a work car. It wasn't a pleasure car, work car. And I drove it down from Chicago.
James, why did you bite the bullet shell and leave it here?
Because I was young and indestructible, and one of my signs on it. We killed a guy in Chicago around in that area. If he was talking to the FBI, the government, yeah, buy a canary, break his neck, put the canary in the guy's mouth and we're there.